BetStamp wants to ensure you've maximized your ROI. Line shopping for the best odds matters, and that is why any profitable sports bettor needs to be using multiple sports books. Thankfully, there has never been a better time to get signed up, and they are here to connect you with the best promotions industry-wide. Using their link, signupexpert.com-TAS, you can get access to all the sportsbooks in your region, along with a review of each platform and its unique features. Most importantly, this page automatically connects you to the top promotions at each book, allowing you to start line shopping with an enhanced.
All right, so this is Todd Atkins, and I'm here with Miguel, and we're going to kind of do our first odds related show. So maybe we call this the odds show. We do have a gambling sponsor, BetStamp, and we're going to kind of Miguel. His background is as one of the very first guys that was involved with the MMA gambling. He was, had a show with Nick Kalikas on UFC Fight Pass, and I'll kind of let him tell that, and we're going to kind of break down Fury Usyk, the odds of it. Miguel's going to kind of, give us his expertise in this kind of field.
Well, I have never been a professional odds maker, and that's because there are people better at it than me. But I dabble, and I do understand the game. And I was associated with Nick Kalikas doing a UFC odds show. I've also been involved with odd shows for boxing throughout my career in the last 15 years. Mainly, I can help people who don't know the odds understand the odds and things like that. And also, I'm going to make a pick on the fight. We'll let time decide whether my picks are good or not. So that way, if you like my picks, you pick along with me. And if you think I don't know anything, then, listen to what I say and pick against me. So either way, it's useful to people that are looking at it, because we're going to try jam as much information down about each fight. This particular weekend, we decided to start with Todd because we've got a major boxing fight. And that's Tyson Fury versus Alexander Usyk for most of the recognized big heavyweight world titles. What's unusual about the fight is Fury 34-0-1, Usyk 21-0, undefeated fighters for the heavyweight title. That's very rare. I'd have to check back exactly when was the last time that actually happened, but it doesn't happen very often. So we're in a situation where it's a huge fight. The fight's taking place in Saudi Arabia, which is the stage for this type of huge fight in the last few years. I looked over the records. Fury obviously fought in Ghana and has been to Saudi Arabia. Alexander Usyk is going there for the first time. That might have an effect on him, but we'll see. We'll take it away. Right now, looking at the details, I chose a generic site for the odds for now. We may pick a particular book that we're going to help or have BetStamp give us odds that we'll be presenting with their name on them. But for right now, I took a generic site, and it's practically a pick 'em fight. Usyk holds most of the belts, and he's a minus 102 to Tyson Fury's minus 118. Most people will realize if there are bettors that that's a very close fight. You rarely get two guys with minus numbers in these types of fights. To people who don't understand the odds and that type of numbers, the minus means that you must bet the number shown to win $100. So in Tyson Fury's case, you have to bet $118 to win $100. And in Alexander Usyk's case, you have to bet $102 to win $100. So Fury would technically have the wider odds and be the wider favorite. Usually you get a fight where one guy's at a minus and the other guy's at a plus. And if you have a plus, the plus means you have to bet $100 to win the amount shown. So that's what makes this kind of rare in a tight fight. Now you've got undefeated fighters, heavyweight boxing world championship, and a practically pick 'em fight. Very juicy, very much something that as a boxing fan, I'm eager to watch. And, I think the whole boxing world should be looking at this fight a lot more than the attention being given to Mike Tyson and Jake Paul. With all due respect to Tyson, one of the all-time greats, one of my all-time favorites. And as a human being too, his life story with his addiction and his lack of education and the heights and lows that he's been through, very compelling story. But that fight should not even be holding a candle to Tyson Fury versus Alexander Usyk in terms of interest to the boxing world. And it is, but that's why we decided to start with Fury and Usyk, because this for us is serious business.
And I'm gonna put our betting site, myself and Miguel, which is signupexpert.com/TAS or Todd Atkins Show, but it's both for me and Miguel. And I'll put it up in the video so you'll be able to see it. Miguel, I want to give you a chance when you decide which odds you're going to look at to kind of explain to people the odds, what it means, what they can bet, so on and so forth.
Okay, yeah, look, we're right now with the Fury and the Alexander Usyk. The basic line is -118 and -102. -118 for Fury, -102 for Usyk. As I mentioned, if you are betting Fury, it means you have to give up $118 to win the 100, and you get, if he wins, you get 218 back. And with Usyk, risk 118, you get 218 back. With Usyk, he's a -102, so you have to risk a little less. You risk $102 to win 202 back. And that's the bottom line. So if you're just picking a fight, there's not a huge amount of money there that you're going to make, especially for some of the risk. You're going to be actually risking more than you can make. Now, if you feel particularly strong for one fighter, there is some benefits there. The site and the link and pictures I hope Todd rather can show here. Is Tyson Fury by points or decision at +220. So if Tyson Fury wins on points or decision, and you bet $100, you'll win back 320 with the 220. +220 means that's what you would win. If Fury wins by KO, it actually goes up to +320. So if you feel strongly that Fury might knock Usyk out, you bet $100, you're going to make $420 back. With the 100 coming back in on the 320. Fights this close, sometimes a lot of people think, why not throw $100 on the draw? If that's what you feel, this draw is +1,400, which means for a $100 bet, if it happens to wind up a draw, which is still unusual, but if it does happen to wind up a draw, you would win about $1,500. So there are opportunities for experienced gamblers, especially if you've got a strong feeling about one particular boxer or the other, to make some money on these types of bets if you can decide how the fight's going to end, not just pick the winner. And on the Usyk side, for Usyk to win by points or decision, you got him at +190. So you got to bet $100, you get $290 back. That seems to hint at Usyk almost being the favorite, and that's the way I'm leaning. We'll get into that. And for Usyk to win by KO, they're not sure he can KO him. So they're at +500 there. So you would bet $100 and you take 600 back. You get your 100 plus the 500 on the betting odds. So there's an opportunity there if you feel strongly. If you think there's going to be a knockout, either way, you bet $100, you're going to make some money. The draw is a nice, attractive thing because if it happens to wind up a draw, you make big money on it. And it's a very interesting opportunity here because, like I said, this fight, if you look at the original odds, and they're both undefeated. It's going to be a tight, close fight. It'd be unusual, I would think, if it doesn't extend itself. Maybe one guy separates himself and scores a knockout late. That would be my thinking. But the draw is not a bad bet. The other thing to consider here is if you expand the odds, and I haven't sent Todd pictures of these types of bets, but they're out there at all the sports books. If you pick Fury knockout 3rd round and you happen to hit and there's some of these bets that go Fury knockout round 3 through 5, you'll find that the plus odds on that are huge. And there's an opportunity there if, like I said, if you have a good feeling, or if you're a boxing insider, or you have some information, or you're smarter at this than I am, then there are some opportunities there to really make some picks up. Since I feel this fight is going to go longer, you might want to look at Usyk or Fury knockout rounds 9 through 12 and see what the odds are there. Picking Fury or Usyk, whichever guy you want. In particular, I think Usyk is going to win this fight. But like I said, in terms of odds, there's some great opportunities if you really tighten down just to pick the winner. You're going to make double your money, about double your money, a little less on each guy. And maybe that's good enough for some people. Your average gambler who's not, more serious and into it. That might be enough. Hey, I bet $100 for Fury to win. Hey, I want another $100. Cool. And there's nothing wrong with that. The sports books love that. But once you get into the details, like I said, if you could pick the round the fight's going to end, and they're, like I mentioned, are bets where the general round, so you could pick round 7 through 9, and then maybe if you want to hedge your bet a little bit, you could pick round 7 through 12 also. So that way, if it happens to be in round 9, you've actually won 2 bets. So there's a lot of opportunity, especially for a big fight like this, for you to really sink your teeth into the betting and enjoy the fight. It does add a little juice to the fight if you put a little money on there and there's an opportunity to win good money back. So that's the entertainment value. That's why gambling was illegal for so long, but they could never kill it. And now the sport books are very strong businesses because it is a very popular way to enhance your fight experience.
Yeah. So where do you think you're going to be? Why do you think you're going to lean Usyk in this fight?
Okay, you got undefeated guys. One of the obvious reason, the main reason, and people have probably heard this all over the place, is that Fury looked terrible against Ngannou, especially when compared to Ngannou's performance against Joshua, where Joshua wiped him out. And, when you analyze it, that is what a boxer should have done to a non-professional MMA guy crossing over into the sport. Show that boxing is not something you dabble in. Show that boxing is something that if you've dedicated your life to it, you are miles ahead of a guy who's put a couple of good years in. And Joshua showed that, and Fury didn't show that. What are the reasons that Fury didn't show that? To me, it has to do with mindset. Fury didn't take that fight seriously. He thought he wanted to put on a show. He thought he'd be safe. He got dropped. One of the reasons why maybe you want to lean away from a knockout is every time Fury's been dropped, he's gotten up. So Usyk is going to have to really do a number on him to get him out of there. That Usyk is a stylish boxer also. So, if he gets a knockdown, I don't see Usyk going crazy for the knock, trying to go for it. He might back off and settle in and just, hey, bank the 10-8 round and, keep boxing away and winning. So the knockout of Fury is why I'm not quite sure that there's going to be a knockout of Tyson Fury, but he didn't take the fight seriously with Ngannou. We got what we got with Ngannou. A lot of people thought Ngannou might have won on the judges' cards. And then there's also, to me, Fury's background and record, where if he's laser focused on the fight, like he was with his original rise against Vladimir Klitschko, we know, he's undefeated still. He's tough to beat. He's never been beaten. So even with that, he's going to be hard to beat. But there are always, he's been on top for a long time. He's made his money. He's got some defects, some, personal defects. The main one is ego. I think he likes the attention. I think that's one of the things that happened to him with Ngannou, is that Ngannou was quiet, and Ngannou was a guy that, gave him center stage. So he took center stage and put on the Tyson Fury show. And, Usyk will probably be the same way, where he won't go at it with him, for quotes or headlines or anything like that. But you can say that Usyk, especially with the Ukraine-Russia war going on, and I don't want to get into world politics at all, but I think that makes the Ukrainian athletes, the high-level guys, very focused. I think they have pride in their country. They have reason to try to perform. They also consider themselves very lucky to be able to represent their country this way and not be out there. Usyk has put on the military uniform and has been out there in the fight. I don't know if he's been on the front lines kind of thing, but there have been periodic news clips that Usyk was, helping the military and in town that, in the Ukraine working. Now, obviously, he had to put in a real training camp for this, and somebody's blessed him to do that because it's good for the country. So I think that he's a guy. We talked about being laser focused. I think Usyk is a guy whose focus has never really been questionable. Where it's like, oh, he didn't look great in that fight or anything like that. Whereas that has been the story of Tyson Fury's career over and over again. So I think, here you might get Fury after the Ngannou fight say, no, now I'm focused again and stuff like that. But it's a few months focus enough against Usyk, who's been undefeated, who's been a guy who's extremely well trained. I don't know who's the more technical fighter in this fight. They're very different, but Usyk is extremely well trained. He's not counting on huge power or any one technique in boxing. I think he's very well rounded, and I think he's got a winner's mentality, and I think he's been laser focused for a much longer time than Fury, building up to this fight. It's also a huge payday. It's also his first time in Saudi Arabia. I think all that leads to motivation for Usyk, whereas for Fury, I think he's a guy that sometimes struggles to get that level of motivation, and I don't think Usyk does. So that's why, in my opinion, even though it's very balanced on, the check boxes of like who's a better boxer, who's, this, that, I would think Usyk in the mindset might be the advantage here, and I would lean toward picking Usyk as the winner. I would lean toward picking him in a late KO or a decision. So if you can pick him for a decision, you can look at fight ends in round 7 through 12. Just an ending, so you don't have to decide if he knocks him out, obviously 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, but 12, hey, if they throw that in the odds, you could win that bet by decision. And if the odds are big, plus 500, plus 600, you've made good money on Usyk. At the site that we're looking at, Usyk points or decision is a plus 190. So if you pick Usyk as the winner on the straight odds, he's minus 102. That means that you take $202 back on your one. I'm sorry. That means that you bet $102 and you could take 202 back. So you made almost 100% of your money, or doubled your money. If you pick him on the decision saying, no, it's going to be a decision, it's plus 190 on your $100 bet. So you make $290. That's almost triple your money. So there is a difference there. And there is some, you want to look at the prop bets and the analytical bets like that in this type of match too, because you're going to have to look for where you're going to make bigger money, because they're just not there on the main odds. Could Fury win the fight? Certainly. It wouldn't surprise me if that's what he came in and did. But I am going to lean towards Usyk and pick Usyk in this one, by decision or late round KO.
It does seem that the odd makers are leaning that way as well.
Yeah, Fury's the guy that also his odds, I think, come in because the Brits back him. The betting public over there, maybe, I'm sure he has his detractors and stuff, but he's a big star. And I think he comes with a standard number of people that will always bet him. And like I said, after that, these odds would be a lot. If he had performed well against Ngannou, then, Fury might be minus, a bigger number. Usyk might be plus 200. Which means you bet 100 to win 300 back, the 100 you win back in the 200. So you're in a situation there where these odds have been compressed and made tighter because of Fury's weak performance last time. Not that Usyk, Usyk is an interesting character because he's Ukrainian. And up until, unfortunately, again, I don't want to get into world politics, but he's fought in Moscow. And, you know, the Russians will take credit for Ukrainian athletes 10 years ago as being part of their system and guys like that. And there's a camaraderie there. Now, I don't know if Usyk brings pure Russian money in the betting, where when he did back in the old days, if you can get the Russian population to also bet the fighter against the British population, now you've got a real big bet money coming in. I'm not sure how much, especially in a war-torn country, Usyk commands in terms of betting public. Now, there are probably some big backers and some big bettors still in the Ukraine, and you get the odds there. But if I thought the odds were slanted towards just popularity, I would say that Tyson Fury is the guy who numbers are coming in on who they don't belong to be coming in on. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the one thing that, you know, Fury might have an advantage in is that he is still the bigger guy, taller guy, bigger guy. And, you know, he might be able to use his weight to his advantage like he did against Wilder a couple times. You know, where he was trying to lean on Wilder a lot.
Yep.
Usyk will have to get around that and not
Could
let
be
him try to fatigue him.
and you're right. If the you got to do the fight in the ring, and if it goes that way again, I wouldn't be totally surprised. But I find Usyk to be a much more sophisticated fighter than Wilder. Usyk is after all, a cruiserweight coming up in weight class. But he's fought bigger, so naturally he's fought bigger guys his whole career at heavyweight. Daniel Dubois in his last fight is bigger. Anthony Joshua is bigger, and he's beat Joshua twice. So I'm not the height could also be a little bit more of a problem, but that also gives a guy like Usyk more of a target. And sometimes, you know, it's just as tiring to punch down as to punch up. So if Usyk can be on his horse and make Fury work, it could have the opposite effect. And you could, especially if Fury hasn't put in the full training camp and the full, you know, road work and stuff like that. You could see Fury get tired in this fight. And that's why a possibility exists of maybe a late knockout for Usyk. I don't see Usyk getting on his racehorse and going for the knockout early. I think they're going to settle in, figure out who's the better boxer, and define it from there. So I do see either way this fight ending after round 7, no doubt.
If you were going to bet it, like, would you look at a prop bet or would you look at just kind of a straight overall type bet?
Like I said, if I had $100 to bet just on a budget, $100 to make one bet, I would bet Usyk to win by decision. That's just my personal opinion. If I could spread it out, you might take your $100 and say, I'm going to put $20 on Usyk to win in rounds 7 through 12. And that way, if the odds on that are, plus 500, you've made a $20 bet to win $120 back. So now, and then the other month. So there are a few ways that this could go, especially like if I say, like, if you pick the fight to end in rounds 10 through 12, and that bet brings you money. And also Usyk by decision. So it ends in round 12. You've won both bets. You've won the bet that says 10 to 12, and you've won the bet that says decision. And a lot of gamblers are very sharp at picking that so that they can, come in and win multiple bets and take in multiple monies on your bets for those types of picks. So I'd have to really look at it, but just one straight bet at $100, I would bet Usyk to win by decision, or Usyk to win if they allow me, if I find a site that has the exact bet that says ends in round 10 through 12, I would pick a 10 through 12, 7 through 12, depends on what the odds are, late in the fight, 9 through 12 and up is probably where it'll happen. 7 might be a little bit earlier, but you never know. If Fury hasn't done his wrong work and he gets tired and Usyk hurts him and he doesn't recover as well as he's recovered in the past, and Usyk can hurt him again, he might take him out. I see, like I said, I see Usyk having the technical ability to stay with Fury and to not be overwhelmed by him. And so if he can start calling the shots in the fight, it make Fury chase him the whole time, and then start to get and win his rounds, bank rounds, he might be able to press and go for a knockout. I just see him as being, like I said, stylish and technical. I don't see him overdoing it, going for the knockout where he'll put himself at risk. I think he'll also fight a very sophisticated, safe fight where he won't take huge risks. So I think the later the better. I might bet rounds ending in Usyk's favor, 9 through 12, 10 through 12, or if I was forced to, I'd pick Usyk in a decision.
Gotcha. It's interesting. I mean, what do you think about I don't know if you saw, but Fury refused to look at Usyk during the stare down. He basically refused to do a stare down. Why do you think he did that?
I've seen pictures of them face to face. Maybe they were photoshops also. So, you know, Tyson has a very sophisticated mind game. So I'm not able to tell you exactly what he's thinking or why there. But to be honest with you, I would lean towards the reason being respect. And that is that Usyk is extremely dangerous, extremely focused. Not a guy I would gamble that I'd be able to get into his head on. You know what I mean? With Klitschko had been on top for so long that not respecting him was Tyson Fury's way in to get into his head and win the mind game. If you look back at it, he showed up in Germany, Klitschko's de facto hometown, for the fight and said no to the promotion. I'm not accepting your water. I bought my own water because I don't trust you guys. Little things like that Fury did to a T against Klitschko, also an elite guy. I don't think, you know, we're at that level anymore. Things have changed. And Usyk, I don't think is a guy that I would be confident I could crack in the mind game. It could work against your favor. You could give him locker room motivation, and that may be why he stayed out of that. He's also not been nearly as vocal as say he was before the Ngannou fight. You know, on the mic, singing and showing us his big personality. He's been a little more quiet, you know, and I think that is shows that he knows he's in for the hardest fight of his life. I think.
Yeah. Now, Usyk's first trip to Saudi Arabia, I know you had talked a little bit about that, but maybe elaborate on that, given, you know, you went to Abu Dhabi when the first tournament started. So maybe you could talk about how you think it could affect him.
I think it should be extremely motivational. I think you go there and you're going to see money flashed.
Right.
You know, you're going to see people impressed by having the best athletes in the world. You're going to be well taken care of. And I don't think Usyk is a guy who's, you know, on the side, on the slide, going over to Saudi Arabia and being like, you know, but I'm not going to be able to drink, you know, and have like, you know, I think the focus is going to be there where he's going to realize he has an opportunity to impress. And if you can impress these people, they have you back. You can make big money. And I think all that works in Usyk's favor. I think he goes over there focused. I think if he's smart, he might have been over there 10 days ago. Somebody would have probably just been okay with putting him up for that time period, paying for it, doing the whole entourage thing, getting well accustomed to it. And he's not going to run into that folly of like, you know, in Vegas, you can go party a little bit or, you know, go to strip joints and things like that. You know, get your mind loose in a different way before the fight. Some people are susceptible to that. I don't think Usyk needs any of that. I think Saudi Arabia might be the perfect place for this. Fury's been there already, but again, Fury's own promoter, Frank Warren, has at times said, you know, he's tired of the big guy and his act, and that he's been partying, you know, behind the scenes as well already, and things like that. And you never know what effect that'll have, especially if, you know, you've been partying, even if you stopped it a month ago, 2 months ago. You know, the tension of your body and being really physically fit, you're going to be in a different place. So I think going to Saudi Arabia, and also Fury's act may be a little tired in Saudi Arabia. You know, there may be a lot of fans there, and you know, usually you can sum it up that most Saudi Arabians are going to be bigger money fans. I think at least some of them have tired of Fury's act and think that Ngannou won. So he may not be as well received, whereas Usyk is the new guy, the flavor of the month, and I think the guy who will most understand how it is to go about impressing these people. And it's not by playing the fool, and Fury does that sometimes.
Now, we, as I had said before, we have our own website that you can bet the fight on, which is signupexpert.com/TAS, Todd Atkins Show. But it's for both myself and Miguel. And, you know, I'll have it listed up on top of the video when I put this out. And, no, you can go there and bet the fight. I highly encourage you to if you want to support this channel. And there's some good sports books there to do it. And
it would be great. You may already be at some of the sport books. If you go through our page, it helps support us. We'll also be very attentive to the comments that go out on, for this type of things, and try to give them particular attention. If we do a news video or stuff, sometimes we can wait a day or two and then catch up on the comments and stuff like that. With this fight, just right around the corner and stuff, we'll be very attentive, and I'll be looking for your comments. I'm very interested to see what our fans think on the gambling aspect as we grow this aspect of the page.
yeah, so you'll be seeing us put out more odd shows around the UFC boxing matches. And as I said, Miguel has a lot of detail in these background in this area. So,
and I will vow to our fans one thing right now: no matter what happens, I will refuse to do an odd show on Power Slap.
yeah, I agree. I can
I
sign
knew
off
you
on
would,
it.
Todd. That's why I said it.
Yeah. Well, Miguel, as always, appreciate kind of your breakdown of the odds of this fight. And for everybody, you'll be seeing more of these odd shows. And anyone who's into the gambling, we're going to make sure you have your information for that. And as always, we appreciate the support. Subscribe to the page. Check out Miguel's page, which is MMA Collector 74. He's doing a lot of history and MMA collectibles there as well that you can see discussed. And as always, we appreciate the support. And until next time, take care. See you later.